Have you ever noticed how the women who respect you most are the ones you've said no to? How the moment you start giving a woman everything she wants, she mysteriously starts wanting less of you? How your refusal to be her emotional puppet somehow makes you more attractive than all your attempts to please her. But here's the truth that will shatter everything you've been taught about love. The fastest way to lose a woman's interest is to never disappoint her. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But when it comes to relationships, we might say, what does not disappoint her makes her weaker. Because every time you fail to disappoint a woman when disappointment is warranted, you're not being kind, you're being weak. And weakness, disguised as kindness, is the silent killer of attraction. Most men approach relationships like diplomatic negotiations. They believe that saying yes to everything will create peace, harmony, and lasting love. But what they create instead is contempt, boredom, and eventual abandonment. Because a woman's love is fundamentally different from a man's love. And until you understand this difference, you'll keep making the same devastating mistakes. A woman's love is consumptive by nature. When she loves you, she doesn't just want your attention, she wants to absorb you entirely. She wants your time, your thoughts, your energy, your focus, your dreams, your fears, your everything. This isn't malicious, it's biological. Her instinct is to merge with what she values most. But here's what most men don't realize. Giving into this consumptive love is the fastest way to destroy it. Think about it this way. A woman falls in love with a man who has his own life, his own purpose, his own boundaries. He's attractive precisely because he's not available on demand. He has something valuable that she can't fully possess. But then, flattered by her desire for him, he begins to surrender piece by piece. First his hobbies, then his friends, then his independence, then his backbone. And suddenly, the very thing that made him attractive, his self-possession, has vanished. She got what she wanted, but in getting it, she destroyed what she actually needed. This is the fundamental paradox of feminine attraction. Women are drawn to what they cannot fully control, but their love seeks to control what draws them. Your job as a conscious man is to maintain what drew her to you in the first place, even when, especially when her love tries to consume it. Learning to disappoint women is not about being cruel or indifferent. It's about understanding that disappointing her wants serves her needs. Her conscious mind might want all of your time and attention, but her unconscious mind needs you to maintain the strength and independence that made you worth wanting in the first place. When you say no to her unreasonable requests, you're not rejecting her, you're protecting the relationship. When you maintain your boundaries despite her pressure, you're not being selfish. You're being responsible. When you choose your own path over her preferences, you're not being stubborn, you're being attractive. Because here's what happens when a man cannot disappoint a woman. She begins to lose respect for him. And once a woman loses respect for a man, her attraction follows shortly after. She may not consciously realize this is happening, but something deep inside her starts to feel unsafe. If he can't hold the line with her, someone he supposedly cares about, how can he hold the line against real threats? A woman's need to feel safe often manifests in counterintuitive ways. She'll test your boundaries not because she wants you to fail, but because she needs to know they exist. She'll make unreasonable demands not because she expects you to fulfill them, but because she needs to see if you have the spine to refuse them. These tests are not conscious manipulations. They're unconscious evaluations of your strength. And every time you fail these tests by saying yes when you should say no, you fail her on a level deeper than logic. The ability to disappoint women is fundamentally about maintaining your center in the face of emotional pressure. It's about being unmoved by tears, unswayed by arguments, unbroken by temporary withdrawal of affection. Not because you're heartless, but because you understand what true love requires. Most men are terrified of disappointing women because they confuse temporary displeasure with permanent loss. They think that making her unhappy in the moment will drive her away forever. But the opposite is true. Making her happy in every moment is what drives her away forever. Look at your own experience with women. Think about the times you've been rejected, turned down, or disappointed by someone you were attracted to. Did that rejection make you like her less, or did it perversely make you want her more? Did her unavailability decrease your interest or intensify it? The same psychological mechanism that makes you pursue women who reject you makes women pursue men who disappoint them. Scarcity creates value. Availability destroys it. This isn't a bug in human psychology, it's a feature. But learning to disappoint women skillfully requires wisdom. You cannot simply say no to everything and expect good results. Like seasoning food, disappointment must be applied with precision. Too little, and the relationship becomes bland. Too much, and it becomes toxic. The key is learning to distinguish between reasonable and unreasonable requests. When she asks you to skip an important business meeting to watch a movie with her, disappointment is appropriate. When she asks you to call her back later because she had a rough day, compliance might be the better choice. The goal is not to be disagreeable for its own sake. The goal is to maintain your integrity while building her respect. Every time you choose your authentic response over her preferred response, you demonstrate that you're your own man. And being your own man is what made her interested in you originally. This principle extends beyond romantic relationships into every interaction with women. In your professional life, you'll encounter women who test your boundaries through unreasonable demands, emotional manipulation, or passive-aggressive behavior. Your ability to disappoint them professionally, to say no without explanation, to maintain your standards despite their displeasure directly correlates with their respect for you. Most men in corporate environments become people pleasers, especially with female colleagues and superiors. They say yes to extra work, yes to unreasonable deadlines, yes to tasks outside their job description, and then they wonder why they're passed over for promotions while less qualified but more assertive men advance. The same dynamic applies. Women in professional settings, like women in personal settings, respect men who can disappoint them appropriately. They may not like being told no, but they respect the man who has the courage to say it. But here's where most men get confused. They think that disappointing women means being harsh, cold, or deliberately hurtful. This misunderstanding leads to either weakness, avoiding all disappointment, or cruelty, delivering disappointment without care. The skilled man learns to disappoint with compassion. He can say no while still being kind. He can maintain his boundaries while still being loving. He can choose his own path while still respecting hers. This balance between strength and warmth is what separates attractive men from merely difficult ones. Consider how you deliver disappointment. A weak man says, "I'm sorry, but I can't because," and then provides 17 justifications for his choice. A harsh man says, "No," and walks away without explanation. But a strong man says, "I understand this is important to you, and I won't be able to do that." Clear, kind, final. The weak response invites negotiation and argument. The harsh response creates unnecessary conflict. The strong response communicates respect for both her feelings and your decision. Learning to disappoint women also means learning to tolerate their disappointment. Most men cave to female displeasure not because they're naturally generous, but because they can't handle seeing a woman upset. Her tears, her silence, her obvious distress triggers something in them that demands immediate resolution. But this emotional rescue impulse is precisely what you must overcome. When you disappoint a woman appropriately, she will be disappointed. This is not a problem to be solved. It's a natural consequence to be accepted. Your job is not to manage her emotions. Your job is to make good decisions and let her process the results. This doesn't mean being indifferent to her feelings. It means understanding that temporarily hurt feelings are often the price of long-term respect. A woman might be upset that you chose to go to the gym instead of shopping with her, but she'll respect you more for maintaining your health and discipline than she would have for abandoning them to please her. The timing of disappointment matters enormously. It's far better to disappoint a woman early in a relationship than to establish patterns you cannot maintain. If you start by saying yes to everything, she'll expect that pattern to continue. When you eventually try to establish boundaries, she'll experience it as a loss rather than a clarification. But if you establish your willingness to disappoint her from the beginning, she learns to respect your autonomy. She discovers that you're not a people pleaser desperate for approval. She realizes that your attention and compliance are valuable because they're not automatically given. This early establishment of boundaries also serves as a screening mechanism. Some women will respect your ability to disappoint them and be attracted to your strength. Others will find your independence intolerable and attempt to break it through various forms of pressure, guilt, manipulation, emotional blackmail, threats of abandonment. Pay attention to how a woman responds to reasonable disappointment. Does she accept it gracefully? Does she respect your right to choose? Does she adjust her expectations accordingly? Or does she escalate her demands, punish you for your choice or attempt to make you feel guilty for having boundaries. Her response to disappointment reveals more about her character than months of ordinary interaction ever could. A mature woman might be disappointed, but will respect your decision. An immature woman will interpret your no as a personal attack and respond accordingly. This screening function alone makes learning to disappoint women invaluable. Better to discover someone's true character in the first month than to waste years with someone who cannot respect boundaries. But perhaps the most important aspect of disappointing women is what it teaches you about yourself. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you strengthen your psychological spine. Every time you say no despite pressure, you prove to yourself that you can handle conflict. Every time you maintain your position despite emotional manipulation, you demonstrate your own worth. Most men live their entire lives seeking approval from others, especially from women. They make decisions based on what others want, rather than what they believe is right. They trade their integrity for acceptance, their authenticity for approval, their strength for temporary peace. Learning to disappoint women breaks this pattern. It forces you to develop an internal compass that guides your choices regardless of external pressure. It teaches you that your worth is not determined by other people's satisfaction with your decisions. And ironically, this inner strength becomes incredibly attractive. Women are drawn to men who cannot be swayed by emotional manipulation, who make decisions from principle rather than pressure, who maintain their center regardless of circumstances. The man who can disappoint women appropriately communicates several attractive qualities simultaneously. He demonstrates that he has options, scarcity mindset. He shows that he has standards, selective attention. He proves that he has backbone, emotional strength, and he reveals that he has integrity, authentic living. All of these qualities are far more attractive than agreeableness, people-pleasing, or emotional availability. Women say they want sensitive, accommodating men, but they're actually attracted to strong, principled ones. This doesn't mean becoming a tyrant or treating women poorly. It means becoming a man who knows his own mind and isn't afraid to express it, even when that expression disappoints others. The journey to learning this skill begins with small disappointments. Practice saying no to minor requests. Choose your own preferences over someone else's occasionally. Maintain your schedule despite pressure to change it. Build your capacity to handle displeasure gradually. As you develop this ability, you'll notice something interesting. The women in your life begin treating you differently. They start asking for your opinion more seriously. They seek your approval more genuinely. They respect your time more completely. This happens because you've demonstrated something rare in the modern world, a man who cannot be controlled through emotional manipulation. And that rarity makes you valuable in ways that niceness never could. The ultimate goal is not to become someone who enjoys disappointing women, but someone who can do so when necessary without losing his center. Someone who chooses love over fear, authenticity over approval, strength over safety, because the woman who is truly right for you won't be repelled by your ability to disappoint her. She'll be relieved by it. She'll recognize in your strength the safety she's been searching for. She'll see in your boundaries the structure she needs to flourish. Let's examine the deeper psychology behind why disappointment creates attraction. When you consistently say yes to a woman's requests, you're essentially communicating that her desires are more important than your own judgment. This creates an unconscious power dynamic where she becomes the decision maker in the relationship, and you become the executive of her will. But women are not attracted to men they can control completely. They're attracted to men who have their own agenda, their own mission, their own non-negotiable principles. When you disappoint her by choosing your path over her preferences, you remind her that you are not her employee. You are her equal, and in some ways her superior. This dynamic plays out in countless ways throughout a relationship. She suggests you skip your workout to spend time with her. Your response reveals whether you're committed to your physical health or willing to abandon it for momentary approval. She wants you to cancel plans with friends to attend her cousin's birthday party. Your choice shows whether you honor your commitments or break them under emotional pressure. Each of these moments is a test, and your response either builds or erodes her respect for you. The man who consistently chooses the path of least resistance, who always defers to her wishes, who never prioritizes his own values over her comfort, gradually transforms from lover to servant in her eyes. And once that transformation occurs, the attraction dies. Because no woman is attracted to her servant, No matter how dedicated or accommodating he might be, your ability to handle her disappointment reveals whether you're centered in your own power or dependent on her approval. The weak man sees her distress and immediately seeks to fix it, apologize, explain, negotiate. He cannot tolerate the tension of her unhappiness and will do anything to restore harmony, even if it means betraying his own judgment. But the strong man recognizes her disappointment as information, not instruction. He acknowledges her feelings without being controlled by them. He remains compassionate without becoming compliant. He maintains his position not out of stubbornness, but out of integrity. But let's address the common objection. Isn't this manipulative? Am I supposed to disappoint women just to keep them interested? This misses the point entirely. You're not disappointing women as a strategy to maintain attraction. You're disappointing them as a natural consequence of living authentically. The goal is not to disappoint for disappointment's sake. The goal is to live according to your own values and priorities, regardless of whether others approve. Sometimes this will disappoint people. Sometimes it will please them. But their reaction is not your responsibility. Your authenticity is. When you're truly centered in your own values, disappointment becomes effortless because it's not a performance. It's simply the natural result of being yourself. You don't have to remember to disappoint women because you're not trying to please everyone all the time. This authenticity is what creates lasting attraction. Women can sense the difference between a man who's performing independence and a man who actually possesses it. The performer is always slightly off, always trying too hard, always concerned with the effect he's creating. The authentic man simply is what he is, regardless of the audience. This brings us to a crucial distinction: the difference between disappointing women and being unnecessarily difficult. Some men swing too far in the opposite direction, saying no to everything, being contrarian for its own sake, creating conflict where none exists. This is not strength. It's immaturity disguised as strength. True strength is discerning. The mature man disappoints when his authentic response conflicts with her preferences, when saying yes would require betraying his values. In the early dating phase, your willingness to disappoint screens out women who need constant validation, demonstrates self-respect, and creates scarcity that fuels attraction. In established relationships, disappointment maintains balance of power and individual identity. In long-term partnerships, it protects against resentment and ensures mutual respect in important decisions. But perhaps most importantly, learning to disappoint women teaches you about your own worth. Every time you choose your authentic response over the response that would please someone else, you reinforce your own value. You prove to yourself that you matter, that your preferences are valid, that your judgment is sound. This self-validation is crucial because it breaks the cycle of external validation seeking that keeps most men trapped in people-pleasing behaviors. When you know your own worth, you don't need others to confirm it. When you trust your own judgment, you don't need others to approve of your decisions. This internal confidence becomes magnetic. Women are drawn to men who know their own value because such men don't need constant reassurance, don't require external validation, don't seek approval through compliance. The confident man makes decisions from strength rather than fear, from abundance rather than scarcity, from self-respect rather than other respect. These decision-making patterns create a completely different quality of life and attract completely different quality of relationships. Consider how disappointment affects pursuit dynamics. When you never disappoint her, you create imbalanced pursuit, where you're always chasing and she's always being pursued. This kills attraction by removing mystery and challenge. But when you occasionally choose your priorities over her preferences, you create space for her to pursue you. You remind her that your attention is valuable, your time is limited, your compliance is not guaranteed. The practical application of this principle requires careful calibration. You must learn to read situations, understand context, and respond appropriately. Disappointing your partner when she's going through a crisis is different from disappointing her when she's making unreasonable demands during normal times. Wisdom lies in knowing when to stand firm and when to be supportive, when to prioritize your own needs and when to prioritize hers, when to maintain boundaries and when to show flexibility. This discernment develops through experience, self-reflection, and honest feedback from the relationships in your life. Pay attention to patterns. Notice what happens when you always accommodate versus when you sometimes disappoint. Observe how different women respond to your boundaries. Over time, you'll develop an intuitive sense of when disappointment serves the relationship and when it serves only your ego. You'll learn to disappoint from love rather than fear, from strength rather than weakness, from wisdom rather than stubbornness. The ultimate goal is not to become someone who disappoints women, but to become someone who lives so authentically that disappointment becomes a natural byproduct of your integrity. Someone who cares more about being true to himself than about being approved by others. And in disappointing her appropriately, you'll give her the greatest gift possible. A man she can respect, trust, and follow into the unknown. Because that's what women truly want. Not a man who never disappoints them, but a man strong enough to disappoint them when love requires it. Remember, the woman who cannot handle your authentic no is not the woman who deserves your authentic yes. The woman who respects your boundaries is the woman who will cherish your affection. The woman who appreciates your strength is the woman who will support your journey. There's one final aspect of disappointing women that we must address: the transformation it creates within you as a man. When you first begin practicing this principle, it will feel uncomfortable, even frightening. You've been conditioned to believe that male worth is measured by female satisfaction, that your value as a man depends on how happy you make the women in your life. Breaking this conditioning is like breaking any addiction. There will be withdrawal symptoms. You'll feel guilty when she's disappointed. You'll second-guess your decisions. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh, too selfish, too demanding. This discomfort is normal and necessary. It's your psyche adjusting to a new way of being. But as you persist in this practice, something profound begins to shift. You start to realize that the sky doesn't fall when a woman is disappointed with you. The relationship doesn't end. The world doesn't collapse. In fact, often the opposite happens. She respects you more, appreciates you differently, treats you better. This realization is liberating beyond words. You discover that you've been carrying an enormous psychological burden, the responsibility for everyone else's emotional state. When you put down this burden, when you stop trying to manage other people's feelings, you free up tremendous energy for your own growth and development. You begin to make decisions based on your own values rather than other people's reactions. You start to pursue your own goals rather than constantly adjusting them to accommodate others. You develop a core of unshakable self-respect that no amount of external disapproval can touch. This transformation ripples out into every area of your life. Your career benefits because you stop saying yes to every request and start focusing on what truly matters. Your friendships improve because you attract people who respect your boundaries, rather than those who seek to exploit your agreeableness. Your health improves because you prioritize your own well-being, rather than sacrificing it for others' comfort. Most importantly, you become a man that you yourself can respect. You look in the mirror and see someone with integrity, strength, and authentic presence. You no longer feel the constant anxiety of trying to please everyone, the exhausting effort of maintaining multiple personas for different people. This inner peace and self-respect becomes the foundation for genuine relationships. When you no longer need external validation, you can offer love freely rather than desperately. When you're not afraid of disappointing others, you can be honest rather than diplomatic. When you know your own worth, you can recognize and appreciate worth in others. The irony is complete. By learning to disappoint women appropriately, you become the kind of man who rarely needs to disappoint them at all. Because you attract women who appreciate your strength rather than those who seek to exploit your weakness. Because you create relationships based on mutual respect rather than one-sided accommodation. This is the ultimate goal. Not to become someone who disappoints for the sake of disappointing, but to become someone so authentically powerful that disappointment becomes rare because you're surrounded by people who appreciate your authentic self. The journey from people pleaser to authentic man is not easy, but it is necessary. Every man must eventually choose between being liked and being respected, between being comfortable and being real, between keeping others happy and keeping himself whole. Choose wholeness. Choose authenticity. Choose the courage to disappoint when disappointment serves love, because in the end, the woman who truly loves you wants a man, not a servant. And becoming that man strong enough to disappoint her when necessary, wise enough to know when it's appropriate, loving enough to do it with compassion, is the greatest gift you can give to both her and yourself. If this message resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that kindness without strength is not kindness at all. And if you would like to create instant connection, or have more one-night stands with women? Then check out our ebook, 9 Pre-Date Hacks, link in the description. Subscribe for more content that teaches you to be strong enough to be truly loving. Your backbone matters. Your boundaries matter. Your willingness to be disliked for doing what's right matters more than you know.